Have you ever felt an unexplainable shiver down your spine, as if unseen eyes were watching you from beyond this world? If so, you're not alone. In places where fear and superstition intertwine, stories of witches and supernatural pacts withstand the test of time, and believe me, they are more real than we dare to admit. In this account, we dive into events that not only defy logic but test the very limits of the paranormal sensitivity of those brave enough to confront them. In the Witch Siege: True Tales of Terror and the Supernatural, I bring you stories deeply tied to a family legacy marked by supernatural encounters and an eternal battle against unseen evil. From the quiet streets of Reynosa, Tamaulipas, to the shadowed trails of cursed hills, you'll hear terrifying tales involving mysterious owls, knotted rituals, and dark entities hungry for innocent hearts. Prepare yourself to recognize premonitory signs, trust your instincts, and understand that spiritual protection isn't just folklore, it's a vital necessity. But fair warning, these personal experiences aren't for the faint of heart. Those who dare to venture forward will soon learn that some doors, once opened, can never be closed again. Are you ready for a face-to-face encounter with the unexplainable? Talking about witches is like opening an old leather-bound book, heavy with mysteries and the scent of centuries of terror tales. Since childhood, we've heard about supernatural pacts, knotted rituals, and the eternal struggle between spiritual protection and malevolent entities. In every corner of the world, especially in places thick with fear and superstition like Reynosa, Tamaulipas, these legends take on a life of their own. What many don't realize is that these narratives are deeply rooted in the personal experiences of those who have truly felt the weight of a supernatural presence. In the video we're about to explore, there's a clear warning: these stories are not mere inventions. They are fragments of real experiences, shaped by rare paranormal sensitivity and a family legacy passed down through generations. Split between fable and raw testimony, they challenge us to question where the line between reality and imagination truly lies. And don't be surprised if, as you listen, you feel a strange sensation in your ribs. They say it's a sign that they are near. Witches, in their essence, have always been complex figures, healers to some, silent threats to others. But in places where faith and fear collide, like the deserts and hills of Mexico, the stories are so vivid they demand to be believed. It's here that the mysterious owls appear, said to be supernatural spies, silently observing until the moment is right. One blink, one omen, one premonitory sign, and everything changes. These tales don't come just to scare us. They carry hidden lessons about instinct and intuition, about listening to that internal alarm we so often ignore. With each paranormal encounter, we are challenged to see beyond the veil of the ordinary. And deep down, that unsettling question lingers: what if these stories are more than just tales? What if, around the next corner, you come face-to-face with a Sarah witch ready to test your courage? It was a heavy, suffocating night in Reynosa, Tamaulipas, the kind where the silence itself weighs on you, and even the hoot of a mysterious owl feels like a grim omen. On that night, a man, well known for his love of gambling, encountered something that would forever change his life. The owl stared at him with almost human eyes, and as he followed his instincts and perhaps a bit of stubbornness, he witnessed what many would call impossible. The bird transformed into an enigmatic woman, with deep, unreadable eyes and a cryptic smile. It didn't take long before she proposed a supernatural pact, guaranteed luck in gambling in exchange for his hosting her nightly visits in animal form. Too tempting to refuse, he agreed without hesitation. For years, his life changed dramatically. Victories stacked up, wealth flowed in, and rumors about his uncanny luck spread like wildfire. But as with any deal, the price eventually came due. One night, unknowingly, he killed the witch transformed into a rabbit during an innocent hunt. Tragedy wasted no time showing its teeth. What seemed like an accident turned out to be a fatal mistake. Luck turned to curse, and an invisible evil began to haunt his family. Businesses failed, illnesses appeared out of nowhere, and a constant weight in the ribs became the new normal. Those familiar with the tale said it was the witch's vengeance, collecting what was owed. In places like Reynosa, tales of terror don't simply die, they echo through generations as premonitory warnings of what happens when one trifles with the supernatural. The story offers a quiet warning to those who listen: some offers are too sweet not to hide a trap. Supernatural pacts, once made, cannot be undone by mere regret. You need to know protection rituals and trust blindly in instinct and intuition just to survive if you're lucky. But sometimes there's no escape, especially when the entity haunting your home was betrayed by your own hand. From a very young age, I could sense that the world around me had more layers than adults liked to admit. While other kids were concerned with games and school, I dealt with a paranormal sensitivity that made me aware of unseen presences. The first time I felt that sudden jab in my ribs, a strange, cold discomfort, was at my grandmother's house, a place where fear and superstition hung in the air as heavily as the scent of fresh coffee in the afternoon. One night, the atmosphere grew oppressively heavy. Lights flickered, and the air seemed charged with electricity. That's when we saw it, a tall, slender, misshapen figure moving down the hallway toward my aunt's room, and she was pregnant at the time. That supernatural presence, wrapped in shadows, was so intense that instinct screamed at us to run, but our feet were frozen to the floor. This wasn't childhood fear, this was an invisible evil trying to take hold of our home. My grandmother, carrying the family's legacy of occult wisdom, immediately recognized the premonitory signs. Without hesitation, she prepared protection rituals using salt, rue, and red ribbons tied in intricate knots to drive the entity away. The prayers and rituals formed invisible shields, but the figure seemed determined to challenge our spiritual defenses. Those who have faced such paranormal encounters know it's like fighting the wind, never knowing where the next blow will come from. Those moments taught me, early on, to respect what cannot be seen. Every shiver, every sudden wave of discomfort, was never random. The supernatural presence targeting my pregnant aunt seemed to be after something beyond human understanding. It was the first time I realized that instinct and intuition are not weaknesses, they are survival tools. And sometimes, they are the only thing standing between us and forces that defy all logic. It was during one of those moments of extreme tension that Daisy came into our lives, a small dog with a courage many adults would envy. From the very first day, she showed impressive paranormal sensitivity, barking at empty spaces, growling at dark corners, and always standing guard whenever that strange rib pain returned. It was as if she could see what our eyes could not, as if she had been sent by an invisible spiritual force. One particularly quiet night, Daisy planted herself in front of my aunt's room, fur bristling, eyes locked onto something unseen. Without warning, she lunged fiercely toward the hallway, confronting an invisible enemy. The air grew heavy and cold, and the elders in the house immediately understood the malevolent entity was trying to attack again. Once more, protection rituals were reinforced: holy water on the doors, loud prayers, and knots tied on window frames. It was a silent but powerful battle. With every bark, Daisy seemed to push the invisible evil back. She was small, but in that moment, she became our guardian. To many, this may sound like superstition or exaggeration, but those who've experienced paranormal encounters know that sometimes help comes from where you least expect it. With the baby's arrival, the terrifying figure finally vanished, as if it had never been there. Yet Daisy remained on alert for a long time, pure instinct at work. That experience instilled in me an unwavering belief: spiritual protection isn't something out of a movie. Whether through a sensitive animal, ancient rituals, or pure intuition, the world gives us tools to confront what we cannot see. And we should never, ever, ignore the power of a gut feeling or a dog's bark in the dead of night. Years went by, but my paranormal sensitivity never left me. As an adult, married, and living far from Reynosa, Tamaulipas, I decided to visit Mexico again. Everything seemed normal until one night, when the past came knocking, or rather, pounding on the doors of my soul. We were driving down a dirt road toward the family farm when fear and superstition crept in. It wasn't just the darkness, it was the heavy, almost tangible sensation of a supernatural presence closing in around us. And then we saw her. A grotesque figure with twisted limbs and hollow eyes, not walking, gliding across the ground. It was the dreaded Sarah Witch, the protagonist of so many terrifying childhood stories I once thought were mere exaggerations. But there she was, right before my eyes, real and terrifying. Instinct and intuition screamed at us to run, and run we did, our car bouncing violently over the rocky path as the creature silently pursued us, challenging our courage. When we finally reached the farm, the elders didn't need an explanation, they felt it immediately. Protection rituals were swiftly set up, circles of salt around the house, white candles burning in every corner, and knots tied on the windows, as dictated by our ancient family legacy. That stabbing sensation in my ribs, that treacherous pang, wouldn't let me forget we were being watched. And the mysterious owl perched on the roof sealed the ominous warning. No one slept that night. The witch circled the property, leaving footprints and inexplicable marks on the dirt. It was the siege of a malevolent entity, a cruel reminder that some paranormal encounters never stay buried in the past. All we could do was trust the rituals and the invisible strength that had always guided our family. Even without fully understanding why we were being hunted, deep down I knew this was no random haunting. Something much greater was at play. Dawn felt like it would never come. Every creak from the old wooden house was like a jolt to the nerves, and the nervous barking of the dogs only heightened the tension. Armed with what we had, faith, instinct, and old shotguns, we braced for the final confrontation. The heavy, deliberate footsteps outside left no doubt the Sarah Witch wasn't leaving without taking what she had come for. Caught between fear and superstition, we knew there was no escaping the showdown. My uncle was the first to fire. He shot into the darkness without hesitation, guided by a near-animal instinct. More shots followed, breaking the oppressive silence of the night. Between the gunshots, prayers and protection rituals mingled with the smoke. Finally, a piercing scream tore through the air, sharp and inhuman, and a heavy silence blanketed the farm. The supernatural presence seemed to dissipate, but no one dared to relax. It was only days later that the missing piece of the puzzle fell into place. I was pregnant. The discovery made everything click: the paranormal encounters, the persistent rib pain, the witch's siege. It all pointed to a single, terrifying conclusion. She hadn't just come to haunt us, she had come for something much more precious. In stories like these, especially those born of supernatural pacts, the target is almost always the most innocent. And my baby, without a doubt, was the perfect prey. That revelation taught me that invisible evil can sense new life before we're even aware of it ourselves. It's no exaggeration to say that it was our spiritual protection, forged by generations of knowledge and sharpened intuition, that saved us. And, between us, since that day, I've never again underestimated a premonitory sign or the insistent bark of a dog in the middle of the night. If there's one thing these experiences have made clear, it's that ignoring instinct and intuition might be the biggest mistake of our lives. Since childhood, my paranormal sensitivity has been like a silent compass, guiding me through unseen paths. Each paranormal encounter brought a lesson. Danger doesn't always come with loud noises or visible shadows. Sometimes it presents itself as a gut feeling, a sudden jab in the ribs, or an unexplainable chill down the spine. These premonitory signs are never random. Today, I understand that the family legacy I inherited wasn't just a collection of scary stories meant to frighten children. It was a survival manual against the invisible evil that silently roams our world. The protection rituals, the ancient prayers, even the small knots tied on the doors, they were more than tradition, they were spiritual armor. Learning to read these signs may well have been the difference between life and death on more than one occasion. What scares me isn't just the malevolent entities I've encountered, but how many people today ignore their own internal alarms. In a modern world obsessed with rationality, we've forgotten that sensitivity is a form of ancient wisdom. Anyone who has faced a supernatural presence knows logic alone won't protect you. You have to trust your intuition, recognize the signs, and, above all, respect what our eyes cannot see. I often wonder how many times have we failed to act because we overthought our fear? How many times have we silenced that inner alarm out of fear of seeming foolish? After everything I've lived through, I'd rather seem paranoid than be caught off guard by forces that don't respect hesitation or doubt. If these stories serve any purpose, it's to remind you that, between the visible and the invisible, instinct remains our best ally. Now, tell me, how many times have you felt a chill run down your spine and brushed it off? How many premonitory signs have you dismissed as mere coincidence? The stories we've shared here aren't just tales of terror, they are living warnings that invisible evil does exist, feeding on our disbelief. Trusting your instincts and strengthening your spiritual protection might be the shield that stands between you and the abyss. Maybe you've never seen a Sarah witch or felt that traitorous jab in your ribs, but what if tomorrow is different? Are you prepared to listen to that inner voice when danger comes near? Think about it. And if these reflections have made you rethink how you approach the unknown, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Because believe me, knowledge might just be your best defense.